A new season is on the horizon for Auburn basketball as Bruce Pearl and company prepare for the tip-off of the 2024 season tonight in the season opener here at Neville Arena. Let's take a look. The jungle, the students, they're getting in line. They're ready to be rowdy. They got a lot to be excited about this season. A lot of newcomers, transfers, freshmen, but a lot of familiar fan favorites coming back to play for the Tigers this year in what will be considered the hardest schedule in the country and in program history. It's going to be a fun year, and I know you guys are having fun out there in the studio as well. Jack, the host tonight, I appreciate you holding it down. And Mackenzie and Maddie, make sure to keep my guy in check. From Neville Arena, this is Sports Night in Auburn. Let's go.
Auburn, Alabama, the best atmosphere in all of college sports.
He drives and slips.
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn.
Gone deep to the left.
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn.
Sideline. Going to the end zone.
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn.
And welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn.
Good evening. Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn, and I am not Vince Wolfram. My name is Jack Corbett, and I will be the interim host for the show tonight. Healthy is the last word Auburn fans would use to currently describe their relationship with the Auburn football team. After a promising win in Lexington last week, Auburn fans were hopeful that maybe, just maybe, Diego Pavia wouldn't get the best of Hugh Freeze once again. That hope was quickly, however, thrown out of Jordan-Hare Stadium and sent back on Vanderbilt's team bus to Nashville. Eagle Eye's very own Chaz Kapfhammer was at the game, and he has more. Chaz, what you got?
In usual Tiger fashion, the game got out to a slow start with 5 back-to-back 3-and-outs, neither team being able to convert. But late in the first quarter, we saw some action as Pavia connected with A.J. Newberry on a deep right pass, giving Vanderbilt a 7-0 lead. And that score would close out the first. But headed into the second, the momentum was with the Tigers. After a few short Jarquez Hunter runs, Peyton Thorne found Malcolm Simmons, caught at the Vandy 49 and brought to the Vandy 30-yard line. And on the very next play, Thorne was feeling the passing game and he connected with Rivaldo Fairweather at the 20. Brought all the way to the end zone, reached for the pylon, bang! Touchdown Auburn, 7-7. That touchdown would close out the half, but headed into the third, the momentum was still with the Tigers. Vanderbilt started with the ball and quickly turned it over, which gave Auburn the opportunity to drive down all the way to attempt a 44-yard field goal. With McPherson listed as questionable for this week, Magoo stepped up to kick, which ended no good. That turnover on downs led to a Vanderbilt drive all the way to attempt a 31-yard field goal. Brock Taylor headed into the fourth quarter, things looked bleak for the Tigers. The Commodores went on a 14-play, 78-yard drive that consumed 8 minutes and 54 seconds of game clock. It looked like the Commodores would have to settle for 3 on that drive. But there's a flag, a leverage penalty on Auburn's Keldrick Falk, setting up the Commodores for a first down at the 4. And with that first down, Diego Pavia connected with Eli Stowers, giving Vanderbilt the 17-7 lead. Auburn trying to make this a one-score game, leading to a Towns Magoo 52-yard field goal attempt. No good. Vanderbilt kneeled out the rest of the clock, leading to a 17-7 victory for the Commodores.
Thank you, Chaz. It seems that the blame for Auburn football season is constantly shifting. And this week, that blame falls on kicker Towns Magoo. Magic Micah is in the studio with me. And Micah, after seeing Alex McPherson healthy and perform well against UK, it's pretty discouraging for the Auburn faithful to see Towns Magoo underperform in the very next game. If you're Hugh Freeze, how are you addressing this kicker catastrophe going forward?
Well, first off, McPherson was unavailable again for Vandy, which I think is the real big piece of this. He didn't necessarily have another option other than Towns Magoo, and at least for me, this might be a bit unpopular among the Auburn faithful, but I'm letting Towns stick it out. A lot of players deal with the yips, whether it's kickers in football, pitchers in baseball, hitters in baseball, and just athletes in general. I think if you want him to get through this, he has to figure out a way to work through it himself. And let's call it what it is. Auburn football has not been competitive enough, regardless of the kicking game, for this to be the major point of emphasis right now. So I think you let Towns work it out on the field, and hopefully he can. Because you know he has the ability. He drilled from deep in A-Day, played very well there. So just let him stick with it.
And Micah, also one more question for you. If you're Coach Freeze, are you holding open kicker tryouts?
No.
Okay, had to know. Post-game, Coach Freeze reluctantly spoke with the media about his team's loss and his decision to go away from running the ball with Jarquez after how well it worked against Kentucky. His answer left more questions than answers and sent the Auburn media into a frenzy. Here's what Coach had to say.
He was Jarquez banged up, and he only had 2 carries in the second half.
He looked. I don't think he's banged up, but he did look gassed to me. But now the second half was it just kind of. I mean, I can't remember how many possessions we had, but we didn't have many. And when we did, the last 2 for sure were we got to go. And so you're not handing the ball in those circumstances. But other than that, I don't know that we had but 2 other possessions.
Now, Micah, I know you're a big Jarquez guy yourself. Do you really believe that Jarquez looked a gas, as Coach Freeze said, after seeing what he was capable of against UK?
Personally, to me, he did not look overly tired on the field or on the sideline, but obviously I was not there. I was not on the sideline. So I trust Hugh Freeze's judgment on that, but as far as the workload for that game, only 12 carries. After a week prior, he got 23 and looked completely fine. I think it's just a little odd, if nothing else, and especially the Auburn pass game was struggling to score the football and convert on 3rd down when not being supplemented by Jarquez. So you got to get your guy out there. You got to let your best player carry your team, even if he is a little bit tired, in my opinion.
Thank you, Micah. We'll talk to you more later. And in a game full of woes for the Auburn football team, a bright spot from the Auburn-Vanderbilt game was recognizing the 20-year anniversary of the 2004 Auburn football team. A legendary team in Auburn history, the 2004 squad went undefeated and is held in the same regard as the notorious 2010 and 2013 squads. All we can do is hope that we get a team of that quality while we are students here. But anyways, from one of the best Auburn teams of all time to one of the best Auburn weathermen of all time, Brett Fouts is up next with the Fouts forecast on Sports 9 in Auburn.
Good evening. I'm your weatherman, Brett Fouts. Let's get into the forecast for Auburn sports this week. Starting off on the diamond this week, Auburn baseball is playing their Orange versus Blue World Series inter-squad games on Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, so let's take a look at the forecasts for those days. On Wednesday, we have a high of 75 degrees and we're expecting cloudy conditions with about a 40% chance of rain. Those showers are expected to come in the afternoon, so prepare for potentially some rain showers during this one, which starts at 3:20. On Friday, once again, we have a chance of rain, this time at about a 50% chance. The high that day is also 75 degrees, so expect a fairly warm day that's cloudy with rain showers happening throughout the day. Lastly, on Saturday, you guessed it, more chance of rain with a high of 74 degrees. Game 3 on Saturday starts at 10 a.m., so with those showers expected to come in the afternoon, expect mostly cloudy conditions for this game. Wind is not expected to be a factor in any of these games. Next, let's move over to the stables and check out Auburn Equestrian, who takes on Texas A&M at 11 on Saturday. As I just mentioned, the high that day is 74 degrees with lots of clouds and rain expected in the afternoon, but hopefully those showers can hold off until after this one has wrapped it up. That's all the time I have for you today. After this break, Jack will be back with you to share an update on some shining stars on the basketball court. You're watching Sports Night in Auburn.
Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn. College basketball is back in full swing, and with every new season comes awards, and naturally with awards comes Auburn Tigers. First up is none other than big man sensation Janai Broome. Broome received not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, just kidding, it's 4. 4 recognitions over this past week, and the way this man is appearing on watch lists, you would think he's one of America's most wanted criminals. The first award was being named to the preseason watch list for the Karl Malone Power Forward of the Year award. Then, later that day, Broome was named to another watch list, the NABC Player of the Year award. On top of these nods to Broome's dominance on the court, he was named an AP First Team All-American. Oh yeah, and he made the watch list for Naismith College Player of the Year as well. Dominican Dynamo Chad Baker-Mazzara also received a nod this week when his name made the watch list for the Julius Erving Small Forward of the Year award. Congrats to both of these ballers. Now, there's all this talk about awards and how awesome and great Auburn basketball is, which is warranted, to be fair. But how does that translate to the hardwood? Mr. MIA himself, Vince Wolfram, was at Auburn's home opener versus FAU, and he has more. Vince, what do you have for us?
A new season tipped off tonight in Neville Arena as Auburn basketball welcomed Florida Atlantic to its second exhibition game of the preseason. Now, plenty of new juice on the floor for the Tigers, but tonight the charge was led by two freshmen, Ja'Kai Howard and Tahad Pettiford.
They're fun to play with. I bet they're fun to watch. You know, they're explosive. They bring the excitement to the jungle. You know, they both are game changers. You know, with how they guard and their shot making ability. So it's just fun watching them grow and learn and, you know, adapt to the college lifestyle and the environment.
Now, it wasn't just Howard and Pettiford that padded the stat sheet. How about this? 10 players scored for Auburn, including 5 of them in double figures. Start with the big man. Johni Broome had a great game. 15 points, 9 rebounds. Looks like he's going to be a problem all year long. Starting guards, Denver Jones and J.P. Pegues. Denver added 13 points. Pegues had 11. 9 of those were from behind the arc. He can really shoot it. Georgia Tech transfer Miles Kelly also added 15 in his first official game in the Auburn Threads. And then Howard and Pettiford both scored in double digits as well. If tonight is any indicator, Bruce Pearl is going to play very deep into his bench.
I think we're going to continue to be balanced. I think we're going to continue to play a lot of guys, and that's the MO of our program, and I think that's going to continue to be the case.
Miles Kelly, in his first game back from illness, said he felt great and proved why he is the perfect fit for this Auburn group.
I think there's a reason why I was able to come here, and I chose to come here. Just BP and the staff, everybody, I think the system that he has, I think it fits my game perfectly.
Next up for Auburn, they open up the regular season here in Neville Arena on Wednesday against a very, very good Vermont team. Came in last year after an NCAA tournament bid.
Vermont is very Yale-like. I don't want to scare anybody, but they're very Yale-like. And we know what that means.
From Neville Arena, I'm Vince Wolfram, Eagle Eye TV.
Thank you, Vince. From one men's basketball matchup to another, we look ahead to Saturday as Auburn basketball will face a huge test at Houston against the Cougars. Big Money Micah will actually be at the game on Saturday, and Micah, in this game we will see two completely different play styles. Auburn is an offensive team, whereas Houston's basketball program has created their entire identity around locking it down on the defensive end. Who are your key players to watch for this game?
Yeah, you're completely right about that Houston defense, and weirdly, I think the most important player for Houston in this game is not even one in the main three, and it's Jamal Shead, who has gone to the NBA. Replacing his impact is, I think, the biggest thing for Houston this weekend. L.J. Cryer is on the Naismith watch list with Johni Broome. He's one of the better defensive guards in the country. Absolutely incredible player. If you want to get shots up outside, you're going to have to go through him. DeJuan Roberts down low is a solid forward for Houston, can really work the post. Doesn't have great shooting ability, but he's going to be Houston's only hope of creating versus Johni Broome. And then Emmanuel Sharp is the replacement for Jamal Shead this season. You're going to see what he can do on the outside. He was solid for the Cougars last year, was their third leading scorer, and he is back, so we'll see what kind of chemistry he can get going with Cryer. And I think it's going to be a very tough game, very close defensive battle. Hopefully you see the Tigers come out on top.
Thanks, Micah. That will be a great defensive battle, a great test for this Auburn basketball team in the preseason before we get into SEC play. Before the Tigers travel to Houston Saturday, they will be in action at home tomorrow against Vermont. From one side of the court to another, Maddie, what's up with Coach Harris and women's basketball?
Getting a glimpse into the talent on this women's basketball team, two Lady Tigers were able to collect some accolades early this season. The preseason powerhouses Deanna Gaston and Talia Scott are making some noise on watch lists. Gaston is one of the 20 names on the Katrina McLean preseason watch list for Power Forward of the Year. In addition to this, Scott earns a place on the Ann Myers Drysdale watch list for Shooting Guard of the Year. Last Thursday, Auburn women's basketball previewed a promising season for the Tigers with an exhibition game win at Neville Arena against LaGrange with a final of 106-26. Eagle Eye reporter Sophia Weber was at the game. Check it out.
There was a buzz in the air as women's basketball returned to Neville Arena this Thursday. It's a new season. Here's your first look.
In their only exhibition game of the year, they played LaGrange College and wasted no time showing their ability to run the court. In transition, the Lady Tigers were able to find Taylin Collins. Celia Sumbane had some tricks up her sleeve with this spin move, but it was a treat for us. Regardless of making the first 11 of 12 shots, Coach Harris is always hungry for more. Frustration started to show early for LaGrange, and head coach Destiny Lane Frazier had to rely on key players like number 33, Tiana Rabsett. She's just a freshman, but Auburn had a freshman of their own make their impact known immediately. Here's Jordan Hunter with a smooth block and assist, showing how 75% of Auburn's points came from in the paint. Young created space outside of the paint in this shot. In the fourth quarter, it was the unstoppable duo of Bostic and Gaston, who both had double-doubles. Gaston led the team with 32 points, going 15 of 17 from the field. With the win, Auburn is looking forward to their first regular season game at home on Monday, November 4th.
There was nothing scary about this Halloween exhibition game for the Lady Tigers. They get the win 106-26 against LaGrange. For Eagle Eye TV, I'm Sophia Weber.
Thanks, Sophia. After this great win against LaGrange, the Lady Tigers followed up with a 65-31 win over Southern Illinois. Eagle Eye reporter Cohen has all the action for us.
It was tip-off on the Plains at Neville Arena as Auburn women's basketball opened up their season against Southern Illinois. First bucket of the season goes to Deanna Gaston before Taylin Collins says, "Let me get some of that," draining the fadeaway jumper. Next up, Celia Sumbane gets into the party, adding a couple more on this lay in what was a defensive and physical first quarter, with the Tigers leading 8-7 through 1. In the second, Auburn continued to play their aggressive style of defense, forcing turnovers and, as Coach Jay calls it, going to war. The Auburn Tigers did just that. Back inside, Gaston, little jump hook, drips it in, up and through. Sumbane, another easy lay, and even a little press, break, magic. Bostic to Sumbane, over to Collins, double clutch up and in. Auburn headed to the break after this beautiful play by Bostic, over to Sumbane, up and in, 27-15 over the Salukis. Auburn started to pull away in the second half, a little jumper there, aggressive defense, forces a turnover, up to Deanna Gaston for another easy bucket. She had 14, but she wasn't only a force on the offensive end, blocks one left, blocks one right out of the gym. She was all systems go on defense too. Collins finds Audia Young, who knocked down 3 triples on the night, scoring 11 herself. Caitlin Duhan added 12 points as well, making this 3 here and getting this nice lay on the break. Jordan Hunter, the freshman, little hesitation, little bit of float game, and let's do one more for good measure. Taylin Collins, steal, coast to coast, easy layup. Auburn opens with a win over the Salukis of SIU, 65-31. I'm Cohen Dalzell for Eagle Eye TV.
You can catch the Lady Tigers in action this Friday at home. 2 wins away from 1,000 program wins, the Tigers take on Virginia University Lynchburg at 6 p.m. in hopes to get one step closer to this accomplishment. Back to you, Jack.
Thank you, Maddie. Women's basketball is looking scary this year. Also scary was Janai Broom's performance against FAU, where he notched 15 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 blocks in what looks to be the beginning of a scary senior year for the big man. Pre-game, Broom walked into the stadium in his Halloween costume and gave the fans outside goosebumps. What costume did Broom wear this year? Is it A, Jason from Friday the 13th, B, Freddy Krueger, C, Chucky, or D, Mike Myers? Tag our X at EETV_sports and with what you think the answer is, and stick with us to see if you got the correct answer. We'll be right back after this short break. Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn, and if you said the answer was A, Jason, then you are correct. Broom's costume was only one of the scary things we saw from that game November 1st. The Tigers won 102-70 and were led by 6 different Tigers who scored in double digits. Let's take a look at this video of Broom walking in. Kid has no idea that that's Broom. And here's something I want to talk about. He walks through this metal detector. Does that mean the chain is fake? I think that has to mean the chain is fake, because it would have gone off if it was a real metal detector. And like Micah said, that costume is about as scary as Auburn football's third down offense, which that is just a low blow, Micah, but nothing new from that Auburn offense we've seen this year with Payton Thorne. On the road, Auburn Equestrian faced a top 5 opponent test, and the Tigers did not horse around. They not only walked away with a 13-7 victory over Oklahoma State, but also swept the most outstanding awards, with 4 Tigers receiving the honor. Avery Glenn with the most outstanding in flat, Sydney Swallam in horsemanship, Ellie Farina with fences, and Alexia Tordoff in reining. Now I'm going to throw it over to Maddie while she can finish all these awards that the equestrian team received.
On November 9th, the Tigers take the home advantage in a matchup against number 2 Texas A&M. This meet features the SEC rival at the Auburn University Equestrian Center at 11 a.m. this Saturday. What you got, Mackenzie?
It was all sand, sun, and soccer this past weekend at the SEC soccer tournament in Pensacola, Florida. For round 1, it was a Tigers versus Tigers showdown as number 6 Auburn took on number 11 Louisiana State University last Sunday, November 3rd. After putting up a strong fight through their SEC conference play, they failed to pick up a win in their final 3 contests of the season. Although being seeded over LSU for the tournament and defeating them earlier in the season 4-0, Auburn fell short to LSU with a final score of 2-1. After a scoreless first half from Auburn, Mallory Mooney swept one to the back of the net with 13 minutes left in the second half. Although Auburn is out of the SEC tournament, the Tigers are not walking away empty-handed. For the first time since 2021, 3 Auburn Tigers were recognized at once. Anna Haddock earned Scholar Athlete of the Year award for the 2nd season in a row, marking the 5th time an Auburn player has won the award. In addition, Haddock also broke Auburn's assist record with 43 career assists. With her combination of brains and ball skill, Haddock walks away being named First Team All-SEC. Trailing right behind is LJ Knox and Olivia Woodson, who both were named second team All-SEC. Knox remains a strategic defender for Auburn and leads the field players in most playing time in 2024. Woodson, recognized for her speed up top, is the first Auburn player with a 10-goal season since 2016. Congratulations to the Tigers. Moving forward, Auburn soccer now waits to see if they will have a chance at competing for a national championship, as the NCAA tournament field will be announced this Monday, November 11th. Now serving up some volleyball updates, Maddie has more.
Auburn volleyball has been in the SEC hot seat after a series of heartbreaking conference losses. Last Wednesday, the Tigers hosted Ole Miss, where the Tigers wore yellow ribbons to honor Belle Zimmerman's father in his fight against cancer. In addition to this, Madison Shear was recognized for reaching 1,000 career kills. High hopes leading into the match, however, Auburn picked up another loss to the Rebels after a 4-set frenzy. The fearless and true fell to yet another SEC opponent at the trick-or-treat takeover. The Halloween Eve matchup between Ole Miss and Auburn turned to be a spooky 4-set match. A sentimental pregame featured the Tigers wearing yellow ribbons to honor number 12 Belle Zimmerman's father, and a recognition for number 1 Madison Shear, who has reached 1,000 career kills. The first set had a final of 25-20, dealing Auburn their first loss of the night. A frantic offense gave the Rebels an early lead, but the Tigers were still able to put up a fight. Unfortunately, it was not enough. Heading into the second set, the Rebels had the upper hand. However, this did not stop star player Chelsea McGurdy from having a night. She was able to put this offense in a position to play. The Rebels kept the Tigers on their toes, but losing control of this set, they hand another win to Ole Miss, 25-17. Set 3 saw a new pace. Dreves does it again, and again, and again. Kills on kills for number 2. The Tigers take the third 22-25 and force a 4th out of the visitors. What seemed to be an early loss, Auburn does what Auburn does best. The hopeful comeback courtesy of Belle Zimmerman and Madison Shear almost put Auburn at a tie with Ole Miss, but a long match point ended with a kill from the Rebels' Neil Washington, and the Tigers take another conference loss in a final of 3-1. Auburn volleyball hits the road again at Arkansas on November 3rd, 2024. I'm Maddie with Eagle Eye TV. And after their loss against Ole Miss, Auburn was desperate to break their losing streak going into Fayetteville. In the first 2.5 sets, it was going fantastic. The Tigers took care of business against the Razorbacks in set 1 and 2 and were 10 points ahead in the third set, marking this game in the win column. There is a reason we love college sports, though, and that's because anything can happen. Arkansas rallied back to take the third set, and their momentum carried them through sets 4 and 5 as well, completing the rare reverse sweep. Auburn volleyball has now dropped 6 games in a row, and their schedule is not getting any easier, with their next game in Gainesville against number 22 Florida. From courts to courses, here's Mackenzie with golf.
Thanks, Maddie. Auburn men's golf teed it high and let it fly this past week at the 2024 East Lake Cup Championship after defeating number 11 Georgia Tech. The number 2 Tigers gained their points from seniors Ryan Eshelman, Carson Baca, and sophomore Jackson Cohen. The cup came down to Cohen and Hiroshi Tai, but after a costly bogey from Tai on 11, Cohen took the lead for good. Cohen clinched the title-winning point with a par putt on 17 to win 2 and 1. Here's what Coach Nick Clinard has to say about the win.
I learned we have a lot of heart, and we got a lot of guts, and we got some guys that can flat out play. And we had to reset coming into the fall, coming off the national championship, and I think they're highly motivated. And they're looking for a little off season, getting ready to get back after it in the spring.
Auburn men's golf will return to the green in February 2025 for the Amer Ari Invitational in Waikoloa, Hawaii. Auburn women's golf also returns to action in February at the Lady Puerto Rico Classic. Now swinging on over to baseball, Maddie updates us on Diamond Sports.
In addition to the ongoing stadium renovations, Auburn baseball revealed a fresh upgrade to their locker room this week. This makeover includes personalized lockers for each player, a community space with a pool table, coach space, and a nutrition center. This is another step towards bettering this program in hopes to make another trip to Omaha. The team has their upcoming Orange versus Blue World Series this Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. A few players for the Orange team include Ike Irish, Parker Carlson, and Cade Ballou. For the Blue team, Derek Fabian, Eric Guevara, and John Armstrong. Take it away, Jack.
Auburn softball faces off in their final 2 fall ball games against Florida State and Team Canada in Tallahassee on November 9th. Auburn baseball, on the other hand, is not in action until February. So until then, we will have to wait in anticipation. But now, it's about that time for some trivia. How many times has Josh Donaldson been named an All-Star in his 13-year MLB career? Is it A, 4, B, 6, C, 3, or D, 5? Tweet us at EETV_sports with your answer, and we'll let you know the correct one after this short break. Welcome back to Sports 9 Auburn. I'm Jack Corbett. If you answered C, 3, then you're correct. After a legendary Auburn career, Donaldson was drafted into the MLB, where he then played for the Athletics, Blue Jays, the then Indians, Braves, Twins, Yankees, and Brewers over 13 seasons. Donaldson was an All-Star in 2014, 2016, and 2015, which was also his MVP year. The All-Star recently retired and was recognized during the Auburn vs. Vanderbilt football game on Saturday, where he also spent part of the weekend visiting with the current Auburn baseball team. Big congrats to Josh. Now let's transition back to some current athletes and some of the most impressive athletes at Auburn, if you ask me. I've had the pleasure to work with Auburn's track and cross-country teams, and I traveled with the team last week as they competed at SEC championships in Texas A&M. Here's Maddie with more.
Thanks, Jack. Track and field was in College Station on Friday morning for SEC championships, and both the men's and women's team put up impressive performances. The women raced their 6K first and finished 8th overall, with the men's 8K race following after, where they finished 7th overall. Multiple Tigers brought home some hardware as well. After her 5th place finish as a freshman, Brenda Jebdachir was named to the All-SEC first team and the All-SEC freshman team. On the men's side, freshman Nexon Chibai and senior Ryan Kinane were both named to the All-SEC second team after finishing 9th and 14th, respectively. Other notable finishes include Gene Coetzee, who finished 30th for the women, and Max Harden, who finished 28th for the men. The cross-country team will be in action next for NCAA Regionals in Tallahassee on November 15th. Ryan Kinane not only brought home All-SEC second team, but also SEC Scholar Athlete of the Year for the 3rd year in a row. Kinane won the award in 2022 before repeating in 2023, then repeating this year. He'll be back in action in Tallahassee and is definitely a runner to keep your eye on for the remainder of this year. Mackenzie, what's the latest on tennis?
Auburn men's tennis took to the courts this past weekend at the Wake Forest Fall Invitational. On Sunday's final match, Will Nolan dropped the opening set before bouncing back to win the next two. With the 4 victories, Will Nolan won his respective singles flight. Now Nolan's singles record remains 7-3 this fall. Now Tigers' Billy Blades and Alex Frusina will hit the road to Tallahassee, Florida for the ITA Sectional Championships on November 7th. Auburn women's tennis also hit the courts this past weekend up north in Tuscaloosa, Alabama for the Roberta Allison Fall Classic. Both doubles teams picked up victories on Friday with Alice Potesti and Emma Tothova defeating South Alabama 7-5. In addition, Ava Esposito and Julie Bedard wiped out their competitors from Mississippi State with a score of 6-2. On Saturday, the Tigers picked up 3 more doubles victories, making it a solid weekend for women's tennis. Auburn moves on to play in the ITA South Sectional Championships in Athens, Georgia, starting this Thursday, November 7th.
In some swim news, freshman Ethan Swart was named SEC Diver of the Week after sweeping the springboard events during Auburn's meet at North Carolina last Friday. During that meet, Swart notched career highs in both the 1-meter and 3-meter events. Swart and the rest of the dive team will not be back in action until November 22nd through 24th at the Georgia Tech Invite. Now over to my favorite dynamic duo, Micah and Jack.
Thank you, Maddie. I'm here with my roommate, Micah. And although Swim and Dive has some downtime before their next meet, the pros do not. Let's start with some NFL football and linebacker Jamien Sherwood. JoJo's Jets have not gotten off to the start they wanted, but a bright spot for them has undoubtedly been Sherwood.
Yeah, look at him go here. Had multiple sacks on the game, taking down young star C.J. Stroud. Although previously not an easy guy to get down, offensive line's made a Swiss cheese. So little caveat, but Sherwood still playing incredibly well, and the Jets getting a win on Thursday night primetime. But here's what he had to say about his performance after the game.
You know what I'm saying? There's still a lot of ball left in this season, but the main thing for us is to never give up. It doesn't matter who we playing or what night we playing. It's to always come out here and keep swinging. You know, the league is going to be tough day in and day out. It's about who prepares the most and who fights to the end. And tonight, we was a team that kept fighting.
A trend over the weekend on Sundays, as Sherwood was not the only former Auburn athlete with 2. Carl Lawson was working for the Cowboys, including this sack on Kirko Chains. It was a huge game for Lawson over the weekend as he was called up from the practice squad. So he knew he was going to have to make some magic happen and prove his worth.
Yeah, look at him right here. Say hello to Kirko. Get him down on the ground. Cowboys not playing good football right now at all. They lost to the Falcons, but like you said, Lawson a bright spot for them boys for sure.
From defense to offense we go, and who better to talk about than Bo Nix? QB1 got in his Duffy on Sunday as he caught, I repeat, not throw, caught a touchdown pass.
Love the trickeration here from the Broncos offense, even though they did get slapped around by the Ravens in this game. Still, you love to see fun plays like this.
Every time I see this play, it's hard not to think of Nick Foles.
Yeah, completely agree on that.
Let's go to NBA now with Jabari Smith Jr., who was hooping in an OT loss against the Warriors. It was an overtime loss, but Smith had 21 points and 7 rebounds and a fun young Rockets squad that's just trying to hold their own in a loaded Western Conference. The Rockets are currently 4-3, which sounds pretty average, about 500, but the talent in the Western Conference is unmatched. But Jabari Smith, a lot of young pieces around him. Jalen Green, Şengün, a Thompson twin. Josh Christopher used to be there, but not anymore. Tari Eason for LSU, another underrated up-and-coming guy. Now let's swing it over to Walker Kessler.
Yeah, they call me the Eagle Eye Encyclopedia, but how about Jackie ball knowledge over here with the basketball? But about Walker Kessler, it was smooth jazz in Utah for the big man. 18 points, 14 boards, great game for Kessler, and I know Utah just got a hockey team. He had some Nuggets defenders on skates in this one.
Woo! That was tough. Nikola Jokic, too, former MVP. He's having a double-double on, and I know Jokic is known for his enthusiasm with horse racing, but still an MVP nonetheless, and he's still in shape for this season. Not only did Kessler have a double-double against the Nuggets, but also in the next game in a win versus the Chicago Bulls. Now let's head over to some soccer in my great hometown of Louisville, Kentucky, where Auburn alum Alyssa Melanson put this assist out wide on the wing, right on the noggin of the U.S. Women's National Team striker. That made it 3-0 against Argentina, and that was all she wrote for this game. Great performance from Melanson in her first cap, And now we are heading over to Micah. Sadly, in sports comes injuries, and Micah's going to give us our update.
Yeah, this is supposed to be the roster move segment, but it feels like it's just people getting injured the last 2 weeks. Very sad, but Packers defensive end Colby Wooden suffered a shoulder injury in the game versus the Lions, had to leave that early. And then Giants wide receiver Darius Slayton is currently in concussion protocol after the game versus the Commanders. So once again, just some guys getting hurt. Hopefully they can get healthy once again. But now back over to Jack and Maddie for Trending Tigers.
Thank you, Micah. I'm glad the injury report was considerably shorter than it was last year. Now on a lighter note, let's get to some trending Tigers. I have my fashionista herself, Maddie Baughn, here with me. And our top 5 fits this week are all from Jabari Smith and Walker Kessler. First at 5 is Jabari Smith with the classic beige on beige. Maddie, what do you got?
You know, I love a monochrome look. I just think that no one can do beige wrong. I love the white. Pops of color too. Jack, what are your thoughts on this outfit?
I agree. I like that he tied in the whites as well. And also, like we talked about early pre-show, it's like beige is one of those colors that anyone can rock. Like yellow, you got to be a specific type of person to rock yellow. But beige fits everyone. Now let's go on to number 4, Jabari Smith. Maddie, what do you think about jorts?
You know, I think he takes these jorts from farm to fresh. I love the graphic design on these jorts, and honestly, I think he can pull it off.
You know, we might have to disagree on this one, but you're the fashion expert, so I'm sure you're correct, and I'm in the wrong here. Now let's go to number 3. This is my favorite fit of the week. I love the baby blue. For the Utah Hockey Club as well, newest professional organization in the United States, Walker Kessler had to rep. They match our own Mackenzie Deutschmann shoes perfectly. And I think these with some UNC dunks would be amazing.
Yeah, I love the black on black, but when you take the black sweatshirt, black pants, black shoes, we definitely need a pop of color. I don't know if he's a size 8, but I've got that UNC blue dunk at home, so Walker, hit me up if you need some.
On to number 2 we go with Jabari Smith once again. This is just a classic streetwear fit. And number 4, the jorts I wasn't a fan of, but I think number 2's fit I could get behind.
I think Smith takes streetwear to a whole new level, bringing some style into the NBA pregame outfits. This is honestly one of my favorites.
That's why it ranks number 2 on this list so high. But number 1, no one could beat it. Woody from Toy Story. If you didn't know, he was in Toy Story 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Fun fact. But Maddie, this fit or Janai Brooms? Which one?
You know, I'm going to have to go with Walker Kessler here. If you ask me to rate this fit on a yee to a haw, I give it a yee-haw.
Oh my goodness, Maddie. From Jabari and Walker's fits to ours here at Sports Night in Auburn. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. With Maddie Baughn, Mackenzie Deutschmann, Micah Farmer, and Brett Fouts, I'm Jack Corbett. Good night and War Eagle.
War Eagle.